Hello, 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 and welcome to Live with Jesse and Melva. I know you're just seeing Melva right now. Jesse's going to join us in just a moment. And since you're here and I'm here, we are going to get started. So here's what's going on. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, we've been doing a series called Secrets to Lasting Love. And the purpose of this series is to share with you what we have discovered over 4 decades about different ways to show up more effectively in love, marriage, and life. Because life, love, marriage brings all kinds of opportunities and challenges. And what we know for sure is that relationships in all those situations will bring out the best and the worst of any one of us. And so the best part, those are the parts that we feel good about. The worst parts are the parts that maybe we're a little embarrassed about or we deny. And it's so important to know about both parts because the best parts, that's what we want to strengthen because they are elements of the best version of ourselves. And what we want to do with that part, with those parts, is that we want to nurture them so that they evolve into being more of the better and most extraordinary expression of ourselves. So let's look at the worst part that comes up. And worst part, yeah, that is a judgmental kind of word. However, that's what it looks like when there's conflict. The good news about that is that there's a hidden treasure beneath the surface of words and action steps that come out in a way that is wounding and impacts another person in a way that they feel injured emotionally. Because what's happening is that in that moment or during those moments of conflict and arguments, that both parties are aware of how they're impacted by the other person's injurious words and actions. But what they're not aware of is their impact on the other person. Our brains are wired, hardwired, to see the worst in others. And we can't see it in ourselves. And here's the thing, the worst in us is a gift because it represents the parts of us that are undeveloped or underdeveloped, yearning to grow and to join the best parts in an expression of a better and more extraordinary characteristic or characteristics of ourselves. So that's what we're all about. We're into growth and what have you. We've been doing that since before we got married. We took all kinds of, and those of you who have heard us before, you've heard us share the story of all the personal and spiritual and professional work we were doing as friends when our relationship morphed into a love relationship and then morphed into marriage for 4 decades. And we still talk about the fact that we've been married that long. And not only do we still love each other, but we like each other, which is very, very important. So this whole series is about, actually, we have 367 secrets in terms of characteristics, the hidden treasures that all of us have within that we may not be aware of. Hello, hello, Mr. J.
Hello, hello.
It's okay for you to get closer to me.
Oh, I love being close to you.
So come on over. Come on over. So we have been sharing the story of a couple that we call James and Marion. And what I want to reinforce is that James and Marion, that's not the name of any couple, real couple that we've seen. They represent couples that we've seen over the past 4 decades in counseling and also in our workshops. And so this is a story with all these different pieces about what they discovered beneath the surface of the same argument that they were having over and over and over again. So far, we have covered 6 secrets. Their decision to stop arguing and start communicating, their discovery about the psychology of their arguments. They learned about the 7-year-old within, and we went in depth about that during our second, almost call it a session like we're doing counseling. And then they discovered the negative impact. So the negative impact is what happens when the worst version shows up. And actually, that worst version is a cover for what's going on beneath the surface. It represents our vulnerable self that has the mindset and the skill set of 7-year-old and yearning to grow up, but it needs guidance. So they discovered the specific psychological wounds that they were inflicting on each other. They discovered their wounding profile, and they discovered about what it takes to become a healer. So we've covered remorse and amends and forgiveness as the overview. And then last time before last, we went into remorse in depth. And if you want to hear more about that, you'll be able to listen to a replay of that. And last time we covered making amends. We called it becoming a change agent. Because every step that we share with you has be in the beginning. Because when you want to have something different, it's important to be different and do things that are in alignment with being different so that you are in alignment with what you want to have.
Mm-hmm.
So they want to start arguing and start communicating.
Stop arguing.
Stop arguing, start communicating. Yeah, in a loving kind of way.
Okay.
A more loving kind of way. Because people can do that. So this time, this was supposed to say, so this secret is supposed to be 6A because the seventh secret has the 3 parts. But anyway, so this one is secret 6C, to the healing process. And it's about forgiveness. Mm-hmm. Forgiveness, that is so important. Mm-hmm. And we're talking about 2 forms of forgiveness. We're talking about self-forgiveness, and we're also talking about forgiving the mate. And so let's take a look at self-forgiveness. So self-forgiveness is connected to the other 2 about remorse and making amends. So it's about taking responsibility for the mistakes made. And we call the terms attacking and shutting down. We call that maximizing and minimizing. Maximizing is that, you're on the attack like a tiger, and minimizing is like you go into a shell like a turtle to avoid the contact. Both defense mechanisms hurt. So since James and Marion know how hurtful it is when they show up that way, they've already made a decision that they're going to change their behavior. They already took their inventory because they were accustomed to taking the other person's inventory, but they took their own. So the self-forgiveness is about honoring, because when people are unconscious about their behavior and they didn't plan it in advance, and it's the only way that they know how to function when there's conflict, it is a mistake. and it's a learned mistake. So self forgiveness entails taking responsibility for the mistake without claiming or saying or feeling that you are a mistake. So it separates being from doing. So self forgiveness is about forgiving oneself for the behavior, right?
Oh, yeah. You're right on it.
Yeah, and here's the thing. This is part of good news. We have a lot of good news, really. So this is part of the good news because there's a goal. There's a purpose. I heard somebody say this morning. I don't know what I was listening to. That there's purpose in pain. There's purpose in being painful. That's unconscious, and that could. And first of all, people are not aware that they are inflicting pain on another person. They're just not aware of it. They're just aware of their own. And so the good news is when a person becomes conscious about their behavior, then the goal becomes to stretch and grow into a new behavior that works, that supports the person to be at peace with um, their old way of functioning and doing the work to be in alignment with what it takes to grow into a new behavior. I mean, that's the goal. That's the goal. And there's a payoff. So there are many payoffs, but our favorite payoff is that when there's a new behavior that is in alignment with growth, the impact on the partner is healing. They heal. Mm-hmm. And the payoff for the person who is stretching and growing is they're growing into another aspect of a better expression of themselves. And we say extraordinary because it takes a little extra. And anytime a person does a little extra to show up as a better version of themselves, they're in alignment with becoming more extraordinary. I love extraordinary.
Hey, I do too. It makes a lot more sense and a lot more. Um, it's a lot more. What's the word I'm looking for? You're happier. You're more fulfilled. Um, it's a tremendous opportunity for personal growth, as well as for a greater closeness and connection in your relationship.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so for James and Marion, their goal was to stop the minimizing and maximizing, the attack and the retreating. And so the forgiveness for them is that they made a decision, and that's part of the process. They made the decision to consciously and deliberately do something different, to stay in the present and do what they needed to do, so that resentment did not build within them individually and for the other. So they knew what to do. The growth came for them in being consistent with the new behavior. Because, once you decide to do something different, your brain is accustomed to you doing it in a certain way, the old way, and which was part of the old self. So that part will show up, and just know that it's going to happen. They knew it was going to happen, but they were prepared. So the self-forgiveness is part of behavior change, or what we call a beatitude, that requires inner motivation, which is mindset, a new way of thinking. That's what a beatitude is, a new way of thinking that is growth producing, in alignment with capability, having the skill set. You have to think a certain way, and then you have to take action a certain way for the growth to happen. And I really like the way that, I don't know how to pronounce their names, but they were on the slide. Um, I really like their definition of it, you know. So why is forgiveness important? Because it's really designed for the forgiver. It's not about saying that what happened didn't happen.
Right.
It's not saying what happened didn't have an impact. What it does is it supports the forgiver. Is there such a word as a forgiver? Well, if there's not, we're going to use it. It's an opportunity for the forgiver to also discover what is trying to grow within them. Hidden treasures. Go ahead.
And I've said on other programs that if both persons, or until both persons decide that they are willing to do something different in order to have a different outcome in their relationship, because the bottom line, we ask people, how do you feel about each other? And they always say, oh, well, we love each other. And
we just can't stand each other this minute.
Right. Right. So when you decide that you're going to stop doing what you've been doing and that you're going to forgive each other, forgive yourself, and move on in your relationship, then wonderful, fantastic things are going to happen. The kind of relationship that you've always wanted and dreamed of is possible when you decide to make a personal change. But don't expect to make for the other person to do all the changing, and then all you have to do is sit back and wait for them to change.
Because it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
Unless they want it to happen.
Right, that's true.
I learned that. So, so once the discovery, once the discovery is made, then there's an opportunity to choose, to go down the road most traveled and be in survival mode, maximizing, minimizing, attacking, avoiding, stonewalling, that kind of thing, and inflicting pain, or to choose to go down the road less traveled and be in growth mode. That is what James and Marion decided they were going to. That's what we decided too.
That's true.
Because we tried survival mode. Didn't work for us.
And it reminds me of a biblical verse which said that wide is the way of people who don't change and who keep doing what they've been doing, and that road leads to destruction. And it could, it doesn't know destruction in terms of you're not being happy, and I call that going to hell. Okay. But narrow is the way of people who choose another path, which is, that they're going to take responsibility for their role in whatever the unhappiness and unpleasantness is. And that part, the scriptures say, lead to life. So it's to all of our advantages for us to choose the path less traveled so that we can benefit from the rewards that has for all of us.
Yeah. And what you were saying earlier, it reminds me of something I think we've all heard, that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. Expecting a different outcome,
right?
Having the same argument over and over again and hoping for a different outcome does not lead to communication, does not heal the rupture, does not lead to healing, does not lead to growth. That's why having all the data about what's going on, because it's so easy to judge the other person. And then anytime a person discovers that they contribute to the nightmare, meaning the argument, the conflict, they become defensive
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes it's embarrassing to say, "Yep, that is what I did."
Mm-hmm.
But to get to the bottom of it, to see where a person is vulnerable, that that changes everything to me because it's easier to have compassion for what is going on beneath the surface.
Right.
And there was another part that you said that oh, yes. Then the other part that you said that I wanted to piggyback on is when you talked about the narrow road, is that um, how important it is to be focused on the mission, on the vision, on the purpose. Because what happens is, like in the beginning of the relationship, everything is going really well and it's really designed that way. And I think those of you who have joined us before know how we talk about in the beginning how your brain is on drugs because that the old brain releases these feel good hormones, and people show up in ways that's not normal and natural for them. And so once the bond is made, um, that things begin to change, and all the wonderful things that kept you hooked in the beginning, some of those things got on your nerves. And I think, for us, it's like, in the beginning, I was just so thrilled with the fact that, Jesse is steady, thoughtful, he takes care of details, and, I was really happy about that. And then I don't know, you liked the part that I was so bubbly and
Oh
energetic
yeah,
and
you were, and um, you were always looking for new things to do. So you were a lot more adventurous than I was. So being so, you introduced me to things that I never would have thought about doing. But you expanded my life experience by introducing me to things that I had not even dreamed of doing
that was in the beginning.
in the beginning.
Then when the drugs wore off,
Yep.
when nature's drugs wore off,
Mm-hmm.
my frustration was, wow, it's taking him so much time to make a decision. It's taking him so much time to take action on this and what have you. And I think your frustration with me is, why doesn't she slow down? She's got all these things going, and then she wants me to keep up with her. Anyway, so we discovered, just like James and Marion, we discovered what was beneath the surface of all of that in terms of what was trying to grow in us. And here's the thing. So Jesse taught me, one thing that he taught me was, I have, you don't know, but I have like so many ideas, and I'm a big picture person. And so I'm just focused to get that result, right? So I miss things. So Jesse is more concrete because he's looking at all the details and he sees me going forward. And I could be moving toward a cliff. But since I'm moving so fast, I don't see the cliff. And so when he points out to me that there's a cliff, I could fall off. Well, I need that kind of support. And so then I stopped getting annoyed with him because that is not something that I paid attention to. And then I think for you, well, you tell him.
Well, for me, it was like I was on.
No, I'm not talking about that part. We have shifted it in terms of what you learned from me.
Oh,
You were going to say some more about I got on your nerves. So anyway, but in terms of the motivation, this is the part where we talk about. This is the part where we talk about what you learned from me. Actually, you said it earlier about um, introducing you to things that you hadn't thought about.
right, right. The only problem was I was on speed control all the time.
Yeah.
So, and that was too much for me to handle with my turtle way of addressing a lot of things. Not everything, but some things.
So you learn to stroll, honor your rhythm,
Hmm.
and also um, enjoy some of the stuff that I was bringing to you.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't getting on your nerves anymore. That's what the word I was trying to.
Tell me what I'm supposed to say.
Okay, so let's go to the third opportunity. So the third opportunity is to make meaningful change for self-care, because changing the behavior is a way to take care of yourself. Changing the mindset is a way to take care of and nurture yourself. And at the same time, it's a way to take care of and support partners. So it's like self-care, partner care, and it also is relationship care.
Right.
Because there's Jesse and there's me, and then there's our relationship. And the relationship is what bonds us. So whatever the connection is, we want to make sure that we say and do things that nurture that,
Right.
that strengthen that, the bond, our connection, because that's the life. That's the life force of the relationship. So it's not just, when there's an argument, it's a, for any couple, it's a you versus me kind of thing. In a, when you're in the healing and growth mode, it's the you and me partnership. And you keep moving forward until you get to a we experience.
Mhm.
You're not giving up any part of yourself.
No.
You're joining forces so that you have something better.
Right.
So it's like, and when I think about it on a spiritual level, it's like a mastermind kind of thing.
Hmm.
Because when two people are in alignment, there is a third presence. So the third entity is the relationship.
Right.
The way that we nurture it gets fueled by God.
Hmm.
It's fueled by God. Okay. All right. So it's your turn. Your turn. We have a question for you. We have a few questions for you. So the first one is, what are you dealing with that you could use self-forgiveness? Not to beat up on yourself, to notice that got me off track and I want to do something different. Forgiveness for your mate. Now, you may not forget, and many times you don't, but you want to get to the place that you are at peace that it happened, that you are at peace that it happened, and that you took care of yourself. And whether your mate changes or not, that when you think about it and when you talk about it, you have a peaceful feeling inside. The other opportunity is to align your words and actions with repairing the damage to heal and grow. Is that something that you're interested in? And then, are you interested in discovering more about the hidden treasures or characteristics that already live within, that are yearning to grow and develop, and that want to be in alignment with that bigger picture of becoming more of a better and more extraordinary version of yourself? Because here's the thing, we all have it in us, and we show up as the best version in a lot of different ways. So we're just saying, adding to it. Are you interested in adding to it? Are you ready to travel the road most traveled and stay in survival mode? Or are you open to travel the road less traveled, being in growth mode? And then, are you ready to make meaningful change that nurtures self-care, partner care, and relationship care? If so, and you would like support in getting started, we invite you to schedule a complimentary telephone consultation with both of us, and so that we can support you to get started on secret number 6C. So actually, secret number 6. Oh, and the link is in the chat. And all you have to do is fill out the form. We'll get the email, and we will. Oh, actually, you schedule your own time, and then we will be in touch with you, and we'll be good to go. So,
all right.
So, thank you so much for joining us for Live with Jesse and Melva. Be sure to sign up for the complimentary consultation. We would love to support you in having a jump start. Looking forward to next time, because we have another secret for you.
All right.
Take care. Be extraordinary. Bye-bye.
Watch Live with Jesse and Melva right here on Solivity TV every Sunday at 5:30 Eastern. Solivity Magazine brings you the best in inspiration on Solivity TV. Check out our new shows. Mark your calendars for Solivity Magazine shows by going to solivity.com now.